You'll appreciate there's lots to talk about with Donald Trump, but I do really want some of the public debate to focus on Joe Biden and the Democrats and the reckless way they keep escalating this debate in the US. Let's go to former Democrat White House staffer Barbara Heineback, who joins me now. Barbara, great to talk to you again. As someone who's lived through those tumultuous 60s and as a lifelong Democrat, and you've seen the horrors of political assassinations and division on the streets of the US, what did the weekend's events erupt in you? What is your interpretation of what's unfolding now?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Chris. Lifelong Democrat. One more time, I need to stress, I didn't leave the Democrat Party. It left me because it's not the party that it was back in the 60s. You know, I remember when my dad was so excited about voting every year, and especially once every 4 years. And I was a little girl in the car with mom and dad for a couple of hours in the winter in November going to the polls. And we were fighting for serious freedoms. When JFK was assassinated, I was a little girl then, and I watched on television and I saw and tried to follow a little bit what was going on, and remembered he and Jackie walking down Pennsylvania Avenue the day of the inauguration and then hopping out and coming to the White House and the arena there and everyone welcoming them into the White House. And it was a new day for America. And then shortly thereafter, at the assassination, we followed for the whole weekend. I remember things were shut down. And then fast forward to when Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. By then, I was in university at Howard University, Washington, D.C., coming home from university that night. I think it was a Thursday in 1963. 1960, when was it? 1968 for Martin Luther King. And coming home, and all of a sudden I heard bullhorns and police up and down the streets. There's a curfew, get home. I went home for a few minutes. I was scared to death, first time away from home, and tried to run down to my boyfriend's house, and I got pepper sprayed, fell on the curb, and it really does make you dizzy and all. And there was a bloodbath in Washington, D.C. The slogan was "Burn, baby, burn." Well, people were fighting for their rights. It was the wrong thing to do. Two wrongs will never make a right. And I think one of the most famous quotes that Martin Luther King Jr. ever said, "An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth will make us all blind and toothless."
Barbara, these are traumatic memories, but tell me how you think of the weekend's events and how they play into that narrative and that history, how concerned you are about American democracy right now.
I'm terribly concerned, Chris, because you can't have it both ways. And just as you were trying to get from Bob Carr, he refused to talk about all of the rhetoric that has come from the Democrat side for the last 8 years. Hillary called anyone who was wearing a red hat, said you're deplorables. And then we have we have Biden talking about democracy will end as we know it. And who was it that absolutely demonized Donald Trump from day one? And then they've had him in all of these court cases and all. And yet we can't even see Biden make his way through a debate. And even the other day, what he called his big boy press conference, he didn't manage that well, tried to blame it on having a cold and just got back from Europe. Well, 2 weeks home from Europe is not a tough pull. And also, when you're riding on Air Force One, which I've ridden many times, it's a pretty comfortable plane. He has a lounge, he has a bed, he has his own area in that plane where he can get all the rest he needs, all the briefings he needs. So it's a poor excuse on the Democrat part.
Yeah,
I was
it's a shocking situation. Their convention is just over a month away. They're going a month after the Republicans, obviously happening this week in Milwaukee. You would obviously like to see Joe Biden retire, perhaps a new ticket emerge at that convention. Is Kamala Harris up to the job, or who do you see as who should carry the mantle for the Democrats?
I don't want to laugh, but To answer the first part of your question, is she up for the job? I am awfully sorry to say Kamala has failed at the job. She won't read her briefing books. She was given the appointment of being the czar of the border. We're almost 4 years in now, and she has yet to make it to the border. 2 years in, she did go down about 20 miles from the border and had a little conversation with a few people in Texas. She still didn't see the border. And we have listened to the rhetoric from both Kamala and the president when in 2020, Kamala came out and said there's no problem at the border, and she encouraged the illegals to continue to come.
So if not her, who?
Pardon me?
So if not her, who?
Kamala encouraged the illegals to come.
Sure. Sorry, but if she, who should the Democrats seek to put at the top of the ticket for this election?
I really believe that Biden's going to try to stick it out, because when you look around, who can they put at the top of the ticket now? And if he were to step down during their Democrat convention, it would give others an opportunity to at least go for the position if they want it. And I don't know if Nikki Haley's going to try to do it again. If she was given the opportunity, I think she would.
She on the wrong side, well, Nikki Haley. She's a Republican.
That's right. What am I thinking? Nikki, I'm sorry. I'm getting confused myself. But the Democrats, I can't think of one person who would be strong enough, at least at this point, to pick up the baton and carry it forward.
Keep an eye on Gretchen Whitmer. I think we'll see what happens. We're just about out of time there, Barbara, so we appreciate your time. Catch up again soon. Barbara Heine back there, who worked back in the Jimmy Carter White House for the Democrats.